Electoral Commission, we understand, is ready to make an announcement. We don't know whether this is a declaration, but as you can see on the screens, right, Jimensa just took her seat, and she's flanked by Bossman and I guess Mr. Tete.
Exactly.
And the room also has some armed officers also there. Let's go in there. Let's see if we can get some sights, some sounds. No sound yet. Okay, we'll get that for you shortly. If you're just joining us here on the election headquarters, something major is about to happen. We don't know yet, but we see from the EC headquarters, Madam Jimensa having taken her seat now, and they've told us that yes, overnight, Winston, I was with you here when Jimensa popped up and did a press conference and said we should expect the declaration today by close of day. We are what? If you look my watch here, we are 5:44. 5:40. Let's listen in. Do we have Jimensa speaking? I think.
And the entire leadership of the Electoral Commission, let me warmly welcome you to this all-important edition of Let the Citizen Know. In this case, the declaration of the presidential election results by the returning officer, who happens to be our chairperson, Mrs. Jean Mensah. Before we set the ball rolling, shall we respectfully ask Mr. Michael Boadu, Director Training, to say the opening prayer. Mr. Michael Boadu.
Shall we please be on our feet for a word of prayer? Our Lord and Master Jesus, we thank you. This is the day the Lord has made, and we will be glad and rejoice in it. Father, we thank you for bringing us thus far. We thank you for your grace, your mercy, and your faithfulness. We thank you for seeing us through and bringing us to the end of a successful electoral cycle. Amen. Father, we thank you for the peace that we keep enjoying. Amen. Father, we thank you for the people of Ghana. Amen. We thank you for the Electoral Commission. We thank you for this victory. Ghana is the winner. Ghana is victorious. We are grateful to you for this. Amen. Father, we commit this program to your care. We pray for a successful gathering, successful program. May we finish, and then the peace of God will spread through the whole Ghana. Amen. The hearts will be sober. Amen. That the heart of men shall be sober. Amen. That the joy of the Lord shall fill our hearts. Amen. In the name of Jesus, we thank you for answered prayer. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Boadu, for that powerful prayer. God richly bless you. Now, let me kindly introduce to you our commissioners here present, as well as the directors. We have with us here, we are privileged to have with us here the chairperson of the Electoral Commission in the person of Mrs. Jean Mensah. As usual, she's flanked by her two deputies, Deputy Chairman in charge of Corporate Services, Dr. Bossman Eric Asari to her left, and Mr. Samuel Tete, Deputy Chairman Operations, to her right. We are grateful to have our commission members present with us here. Mrs. Rebecca Kabuki Ajalu, Mrs. Haja Sada Tumaida, Mr. Ebenezer Agrifin, Madam Adwa Eswamba Ebrifa. Permit me to acknowledge the presence of the former President of Liberia, Her Excellency Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf, Her Excellency the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie S. Sullivan. Madam, you're most welcome. Shall we also acknowledge the presence of our directors, Dr. Sribo Kweku, Director Electoral Services, Mr. Michael Boadu, our pastor for this afternoon, Director Training, Mr. Alex Poku Akubia, Director Research, Monitoring and Evaluation, Mr. Samuel Boedu, Director, Human Resource. All protocol observed. Thank you very much. Let me, at this juncture, respectfully call on the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who happens to be the returning We also have to acknowledge the President of the EU Ambassador. Thank you. All protocols observed. At this juncture, let me go straight to the climax for this event and respectfully call on the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Jean Mensah, for her presentation. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure if the microphone is working.
It's working.
Okay. A good afternoon to all of you. It's a pleasure to have you here. We do recognize that we've invited you at short notice, and therefore would like to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon as we present the outcome of the election. And forgive me that I don't have the details of everybody here, but I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Her Excellency, Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf, former President of Liberia, who is leading the ECOWAS delegation. Also acknowledge the presence of Her Excellency Diana Konya, who is the head of the European Union delegation to Ghana, and Her Excellency Stephanie Sullivan, who is the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana. We'd like to thank all of you, both our local and international observers, for taking time to join us this afternoon. To God be the glory. Great things He has done, and greater things He will do. On behalf of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, I welcome you to a significant moment in our country's history, the declaration of the results of the 2020 presidential election. As a commission, we had aimed at delivering the results 24 hours after the election. But as the saying goes, man proposes, but God disposes. We encountered a few challenges, including unexpected rains, which halted voting in some polling stations, leading to a few delays, coupled with the usual requests for recounting of votes in some polling stations. We regret the anxiety caused and ask that you bear with us. We hope that in subsequent elections, we will be able to live up to our timeline. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I indicate that this is a historic election because for the first time in the history of our country, the election day went by without major incidents and occurrences. It is no wonder that the BBC described this year's election as boring, and I put that in quote, a testament of the seamless, incident-free process that we witnessed on Monday. As a commission, we thank the Almighty God for His faithfulness and for how far He has brought us. We recognize without a shadow of doubt that we could not have come this far without Him. And as the good book states, a horse is prepared for battle, but victory comes from God. And we remain eternally grateful and thankful to God for the victories He has wrought on our behalf, and they are numerous. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is heartwarming to stand before you today to declare the results of the 2020 general election. We have come from far. We started this year with hope and promise, poised to reform and overhaul the core and critical aspects of our work, and the very system on which credible, transparent elections are hinged. And here I'm referring to our biometric voter management system. We subjected this process to a robust and rigorous procurement process. Even then, from the very onset, we faced stiff opposition from within and without. As if that was not enough,
we were hit by the COVID-19 virus when we least expected it. In the face of all this, we remained resolute, determined to deliver credible, transparent, orderly, timely, and peaceful elections in Ghana. We persevered throughout the lockdown to establish strong and efficient systems and processes that would stand the test of time. With hindsight, the Commission was able to use the circumstances of COVID-19 and the lockdown to our benefit, in that we were able to use the time to reflect on our processes, systems, and structures, and to implement reforms within our institution, promoting competitive procurement processes, as well as efficient, transparent electoral processes. This strategy involved our entire staff, who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, burning the midnight oil to achieve the results we witnessed today. Our mantra was that whilst the country may be on lockdown, as a commission, we had to keep moving forward to achieve the numerous tasks ahead of us. And so, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, here we are today. The results are evident for all to see. Indeed, the hard work, determination, and focus of all the staff, coupled with God's grace, has paid off. Today, we have succeeded in reforming our entire biometric voter management system, procuring and deploying robust equipment and devices, including our biometric verification devices, our biometric registration kits, our user-friendly software to govern the entire biometric voter registration and verification system, and a brand new data center, to mention a few, all of which went through an international competitive tendering process. Today, we can all be proud of a brand new biometric voter register that reflects unique individuals who are eligible to vote. With determination and focus, we were able to prepare a register that recorded 17,027,641 eligible voters in just 38 days, and in a rainy season. Thankfully, the just-ended election did not witness issues of missing names, misplacement of polling stations, among others. Indeed, we hardly experienced any issues of missing names during the just-ended election. Again, as a country, we can be proud of the fact that for the first time in the history of this country, the election was funded without reliance on monetary assistance from external sources. I can assure you, however, dear citizens, that we put your resources to prudent use. Furthermore, as a country, we can be proud of the fact that more than 95% of our procurement for the 2020 election was done through an open, competitive tendering process, as opposed to sole sourcing and restricted tendering, as was the case in the past. This no doubt ensured value for money in all our processes. At the right time, the Commission will share its report on its procurement processes and savings made to date. As a country, we can also be proud of the fact that for the first time in our history, all our processes from registration to election day were laid bare to the citizenry. Through the Let the Citizen Know initiative, we provided every citizen who cared to know relevant, timely information on all our processes. Today, citizens have access to information on the number of registrants on the voters' roll, the number of registered male and female voters, the number of youth, the number of first-time voters, and the number of persons with disabilities who are on the electoral roll. In addition, today we can all be proud that as Ghanaians we went to the polls and cast our votes peacefully. We can be proud that the technology deployed on election day worked efficiently and effectively. Voters all over the country have testified to the pleasant and seamless experiences at their respective polling stations. We must be proud that it took, in many instances, some 3 to 5 minutes for the average voter to be verified and to vote. We must be proud that the usual hustle and struggle at polling stations, the long queues, and the overcrowding were all absent. We must be proud that in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, we all went to the polls with our safety guaranteed as a result of the stringent safety protocols employed by the Commission. And to crown it all, we must be proud of the fact that we have been able to declare the results some 48 hours after the election day. With hard work, focus, determination, and above all, God's help, we can do all things. Yes, we can. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is important to emphasize that we have achieved our successes as a result of the collective efforts of the entire team. And here I'm referring to our commission members, our directors, our regional directors, our deputy directors, our deputy regional directors, our district electoral officers, our administrative works and mechanical staff. We have all worked round the clock to achieve our goals. To all our team members, I say Aiko, I salute you all. We certainly could not have succeeded without you, and I commend you all highly. To the dear citizens of our country, we thank you for believing in us and for walking this journey with us. Your constructive feedback has helped strengthen our processes and our work and has left us in a much better place than when we started. To our media partners, we say thank you. You have been our gateway to the citizenry and have helped bring the Commission to the doorstep of citizens. We could not have achieved our mandate without you, and we are grateful for your partnership over the last few months. To the civil society organizations that have believed in us and shared recommendations from well-thought-out research and analysis, we acknowledge and commend you highly, and we say thank you. We also thank our election observers, both local and international, for their interest in ensuring that the whole electoral process was transparent, fair, and credible. We commend highly the international observers who have traveled all the way to Ghana in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic to observe our elections. Your feedback so far has been constructive, and we look forward to receiving your full reports. We have no doubt that your reports would help strengthen our work and our processes. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the election was conducted in 38,622 polling stations across the country and in 275 constituencies. I'll now turn my attention to the reason why we are here. At the end of a transparent, fair, orderly, and timely and peaceful presidential election, the total number of valid votes cast was 13,434,574, representing 79% of the total registered voters. Permit me to present the results in the order of appearance on the 2020 presidential ballot. At the end of the polls, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party obtained 6,730,413 votes, being 51.595% of the total valid votes cast. John Dramani Mahama of the National Democratic Congress obtained 6,000,000 214,889 votes, being 47.366% of the total valid votes cast. Christian Kwabena Andrews of the Ghana Union Movement obtained 105,565 votes, being 0.805% of the total valid votes cast. Iva Kwabena Greenstreet of the Convention's People's Party obtained 12,215 votes, being 0.093% of the total valid votes cast. Madam Akufo-Addo of the Ghana Freedom Party obtained 5,575 votes, being 0.042% of the total valid votes cast. Henry Herbert Latte of the Great Consolidated Popular Party obtained 3,574, being 0.027% of the total valid votes cast. Hassan Ayariga of the All People's Party obtained 7,140, being 0.054% of the total valid votes cast. Percival Kofi Apalu of the Liberal Party of Ghana obtained 7,690 votes, being 0.059% of the total valid votes cast. David Asibi Apesara of the People's National Convention obtained 10,887, being 0.083% of the total valid votes cast. Bridget Akosua-Jigbonuku of the Progressive People's Party obtained 6,848 votes, being 0.052% of the total valid votes cast. Nana Kunedu Ajeman Rawlings of the National Democratic Party obtained 6,612 votes, being 0.050% of the total valid votes cast. Alfred Kwame Isiedu Walker, independent candidate, obtained 9,703 votes, being 0.074% of the total valid votes cast. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, currently the election results we have declared exclude that of the Techiman South constituency, which has a total voter population of 128,018. 128,018. The said election results are not ready because they are being contested. As such, collation has not been completed. It is important to note, however, that the difference between the total number of votes between the first and second candidates is 515,524 votes. As a result, if we were to add the 128,018 full results to the results of the second candidate, it would not change the outcome of the election. Hence, our declaration of the 2020 presidential results without that of Techiman South. Indeed, if you were to add the entire results or collate all the results from the Techiman South constituency and add that to the percentage and the votes of the second candidate, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, he would obtain 47.873% of the total votes cast. And Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo would obtain 50.8% of the total votes cast. It is on that basis that we say that the outcome of the election would not change. Hence our declaration of the 2020 presidential results without that of Techiman South. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on the basis of the foregoing election results, and by the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, and the returning officer of the presidential election, it is my duty and honor to declare Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as President-elect of the Republic of Ghana. May God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Let peace reign. Thank you.
Right, so the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Madam Jemesa, just announced President Akufo-Addo as the winner of this year's presidential election. And so Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, flag bearer of the governing NPP, is the president-elect as far as the 2020 presidential election is concerned. And we have the presence of some political parties here. I've seen the General Secretary of the governing NPP, John Boydu, present. But it is important to note that we don't have any NDC rep at the EC's conference room at the moment. We don't have any NDC rep at the conference room at the moment. But of course, the General Secretary of the NPP is here, John Boydu, and we'd like to get a quick reaction from Mr. Boydu. General, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
And the chairperson just announced your flag bearer and of course the president as the victor of this year's election. What does this mean to the governing NPP?
I think that the New Patriotic Party, first of all, is grateful and thank the good people of this country for the orderly manner all of us went about our election on the 7th of December. You've proven once again that Ghana has matured in our democratic dispensation. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is grateful, and we believe that this is a clear testimony of the good work that he has done over the past 4 years. And we believe that he will continue to deliver the good work as the people of this country has once again reposed confidence in Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Isn't what you garnered, I mean, a little over 51%, a bit problematic? In the last election, you were able to secure about 53%. This clearly shows that the people of
the Republic of Ghana, this is the scene of jubilation in his home here at Nima, and very soon he himself, together with the Vice President, leading members of government, will emerge from his study, and then he will address the media. He will speak to Ghana, he will speak and accept the verdict of the people, but you can clearly say that it was a very difficult contest that went to the wire. Eventually, at the end of the day, he emerged victorious with 51% of the popular votes. And then, as we heard the Electoral Commission Chairperson say, they are waiting to collate the results of Techiman South. But even if they add all of it to it, it will have no influence on the outcome of what was just announced by the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission. So we are all getting ready to hear the acceptance speech of President Akufo-Addo, and then we'll take it out from there. But clearly, the supporters of the MPP have been on tender hooks since polls closed on Monday at 5 p.m. when results started coming in, and they realized that they had lost some parliamentary seats in most of their strongholds. The agitation set in, but today that agitation has been put to rest because formally and officially the Chairperson of the Electoral Commission and to find out who will form the majority and the minority. But for now, it is jubilation. They are a little concerned about the outcome of the parliamentary elections, because what is important, the presidential election, they have won and they are happy. Madam Agyanonkom, you know, this is your MPP now. So President Akufo-Addo is coming. We will take a small break. When we return, we will be bringing you reactions from leading members of the party after we hear the president on his acceptance speech.
the perimeter? So far, I don't know.
Right, so John Bodio is the General Secretary of the governing NPP, and he is excited about the declaration this evening. The Chairperson of the Electoral Commission just declared the flag bearer of the governing NPP, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, the president-elect of this year's 2020 presidential election. We have Alhaji Frimpong here. He is the General Secretary of the National Democratic Party. Alhaji, you performed poorly in this election. Why?
Well, you don't say we performed poorly. We did not. The issue is that we played a role, and that's simply the nature of our politics. Normally, you know, you need some measure of, you need to carry out some measure of activities, you know, we fulfilled a role of what I call pluralism, which is the very foundation of democracy. We spiced up the process, and you know, you go into a contest with a lot of expectations. As far as we are concerned, I think we have played a role, more particularly in making sure not only for, let's say, carrying the day as being declared, you know, let's say the winner, but rather expectations that has got a lot of factors, you know, in fulfilling the peace that we need, in guiding people, you know, in the political process, and so on and so forth. You know, on that score, I think we've played our part. And, you know, contrary to general expectations, people think that the so-called smaller parties, we are not playing a role. I say no. You know, the issue is that without us, even the duopoly that we have would have been some kind of evil or some kind of a disaster, you know. It is what we do, you know, together that moderates the system.
Okay, so finally for me, what next for the NDP?
Certainly, we think we step up our actions, you know, in the set goals that we have. You know, don't forget that, you know, we are coming from a camp, more particularly, that had influenced, you know, the running of the Fourth Republic, and more particularly the spouse of the late president. You know, we do not have to sit back at all. We make sure that at least we continue, you know, in our resolve to make sure that at least the vision, you know, of the late president through, you know, his spouse, you know, continues to be the driving force of the Fourth Republic.
Right, thank you very much. Now, I must say that the political parties here present are signing the declaration of presidential election result. And it is important to note that the NDC rep are not here to sign. I have seen the NPP sign. I've seen the Ghana Freedom Party, the LPG, CPP, PNC, and the other party all appending their signature to the declaration form, that's the declaration of presidential election result national summary sheet. And so it is important to note that just as the Electoral Commission was wrapping up with the figures with regards to the presidential election, the two reps for the NDC who had been in the National Coalition Center, that is Rojo Metso-Nunu, and also Dr. Michael Pesawite, exited the National Coalition Center shortly after the Electoral Commission moved to the Conference Center to declare Nana Addo Akufo-Addo as the president, the winner of this year's election. Now, the PNC is here. Just a word from you. You satisfied with the process?
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it?
Yeah, I'm very, very
happy with
very happy
the vote you secured?
Oh, yes.
This election?
No, well, for the vote, we need to do more work. But as we come to the declaration of the results and those things, I can see this is they're fantastic as compared to the previous election that we had. There were no long queue. 3 minutes, people can cast their vote and go. I don't see anything wrong. Everything was okay.
Okay, so finally, what next for the PNC? Because the accusation that you go to sleep after every election, then you resurrect just a year before the main election, and all over the place it appears the PNC as in comatose.
Oh yeah, you see, I mean, we can see next 4 years' time. I mean, we are going back to work hard to see how best we can, I mean, work towards to bring back to the PNC in life, because, I mean, there were not time. If you see the time that we had our Congress, it was too short. I mean, besides, we have to work hard to make sure that we file a lot of candidates. And then raising money to file candidates and those things, it was not easy for the PNC. I mean, besides, raising money to run this campaign too was another headache.
So you didn't have money to run the
No,
campaign?
we ran money. We had money to run, but I am saying, but it's not easy like the biggest party. So all those things is counted. So we are.
That has led to your abysmal
Yes,
performance.
yes, but we are hoping coming 2020 we can work.
Let me speak to the campaign chairman of the governing NPP, Peter McMino. Mr. McMino, what worked for you in this election, sir?
Well, we went down to the people. You know, our campaign was predicated on retail campaign. So we tried as much as possible to interact with the voter direct voter contact. And in so doing, you are able to get the views or the concerns of the voter, or to explain. Sometimes they got wrong misconception about certain things even the government may have done, but yet it may not be known to them. So the retail campaign, and then we were able to get the support of the party machinery, and then volunteers, the V20, who came and joined the campaign, went to various homes to put the manifesto, the good things that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration has done since 2017 to the voters direct.
I see, but 51%, some say not good enough, considering 2016 performance. What perhaps, in your view, do you think worked against the NPP in this year's election?
We set an objective, two objectives. One is to win first round. Okay, that has been achieved. The second one of a gap of over 1 million, 1.5 million was not achieved. We will go and sit down, do a postmortem, and look at things we may not have done properly.
But what perhaps do you think you didn't do properly? That worked against
the management of the parliamentary primaries is a worry that we have to look at. I think it's one major area of concern that we have to look at. So we will look at it.
All right, thank you very much. So Peter McMino, the campaign chairman or coordinator for the governing NPP, has attributed the decline in their figures for this year's election. I'm talking about the percentage. 2016, they secured over 53%. Now they have about 51%. And he believes that the key cause perhaps might be how the party handled the parliamentary primary. So just a while ago, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission declared Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo winner of this year's 2020 presidential election. I am Kwesi Parker Wilson reporting from Electoral Commission.
Please ensure that there is no one in front of the podium, please.
Live here on your election headquarters, live on Joy 99.7 FM, live on the JoyNews channel, live on our Facebook channel, also on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. It is done, Winston. Finally, the declaration of the results has been made, and we're ready to, I guess, look into the post-declaration issues.
Exactly, Evans. Finally, the Electoral Commission, the body mandated by law to declare winner in the country's presidential elect elections has declared Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as president-elect, polling 6,730,413 votes.
So that's what you see there, 6,730,413. That's
51.595, so 51.6%, if we could put it that way.
Have you heard that number before? Yes, you did. You had it in our projection. We have 51, just a little about 51% recalled it for the incumbent president there, and bullseye again, right on point with our projection. JM comes in second place, loses it
with 6,214,889 votes.
And he's again, as we called it again,
47.3% thereabout. That's the NDC's presidential candidate, former president of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama. So that's a margin of 550.
I took an interest in that because in the end, Jean Mensah did the same analysis we did, right? We said, well, at that time, we were still left with, if I'm not mistaken, five constituencies. And we said, even if you give, I mean, we used the 10 out. And I don't know if I had a 10 out this year. We used a 10 out of 78%. I need to clarify that what the official 10 out is. But we said, using the 10 out of 78, based on that, even if you give everything else to John Dramani Mahama, he will still not catch up.
Yeah.
He will make any ground to cross 50% plus one. And so same G Mensa calculation, because he says that's the margin there. Because I've written there for you Techiman South.
Exactly, because according to Jean Mensah, the results from Techiman South are being disputed. Now they have a vote of 128,000, and that margin cannot cause a difference.
Okay, so that's Techiman South there, and so this declaration is minus results from Techiman South because of the issues with it, and so she had to put that in context, that even if you give all the Techiman South registered votes to JM, John Dramani Mahama, he will still not make up ground to cross 50% plus one, and that's why you have Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, winner again of the presidential elections. Now, key thing to watch. We want to go to the Electoral Commission. This is Kumasi on your screens. This is Kumasi on your screens. The overwhelming dominant headquarters in terms of votes for the MPP Winston. Okay, back to the Electoral Commission headquarters. From what our drone shots now, giving you a view of the Electoral Commission headquarters. What we can report, though, Winston, is that it appears the NDC supporters have now dispersed by themselves.
So the NDC supporters were urging the Electoral Commission to declare the results, and once the results have been declared, you would expect them to actually leave the Electoral Commission, because you were saying, declare the results, declare the results. The results have been declared, your request has been granted, and since that has been granted, they've done the right thing. I saw them leaving earlier. They've done the right thing by moving away from the Electoral Commission. It only goes to confirm what we suspected earlier, that these persons were just there, because the Electoral Commission had promised that they were going to be declaring results after 24 hours, after the closure of polls, and that's what they wanted the Electoral Commission to do. Now that the results have been declared, sadly for them, their candidate is lost, but they've exited peacefully, and the only winner in all of this is Ghana.
In fact, it's true, Winston. The only one is Ghana. You can see 4 different live feeds for you. One of them is the Electoral Commission headquarters, where our drone is still flying and giving you a view of the situation. Now we are in Ashanti region, also in the bottom right corner, where there's jubilation on the streets of Kumasi. Then we are, of course, in the top right corner. We are at the residence of the the president-elect.
Yes,
the president-elect, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the stage is set. We're expecting him to give his victory speech. Now, Winston, we need to note this, that he and his entire team were cramped up in a small room in his office, and they were watching JoyNews.
Exactly.
JoyNews was beaming onto the screens there for the president and the vice to watch as they waited for Jean Mensah to declare. If I watch Jean Mensah declare the results, and as I said to you, the the most powerful man in Ghana, was watching your analysis when you were talking to him about all the things that he had done.
When we're telling him what he has to do, with the parliamentary situation.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll pick a thing or two.
He may have called the former MP.
Christian Esiam.
Was it you who did that? Will you give that advice? But you should call him.
You should call him. Yeah, okay. Call him and talk.
Yeah, thankfully he watched you. He may have put in the call there to him. So you can see the scenes there. Jubilation for the for the MPP supporters across the country there. If you are just joining us, a few minutes ago, Madam Jim Mensah, who is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, just finished declaring the results of the 2020 elections, and the numbers confirming what we projected way early in the day. Nana-Addo 6.7 million votes, representing 51.6% bullseye when it comes to our projection. JM 6.2 million votes at 47, just over 47% there. Again, bullseye. Difference of 515,000. Nana has won.
Nana has won, and talking about the numbers, when we were projecting, the margin was over 515,000, but of course that was because we had 5 constituencies left. And in Kumasi, as expected, they're jubilating. But Evans, you heard Peter McMahon talk about what they believe may have affected them, and he talks about the conduct of the party's primaries, and that's one important thing the party should look at. But I'm sure, for now, they'll be very excited. They've won the election. You can celebrate, and after the celebration, after everything, you can sit down and begin the stock taking.
I want now to cross over now to our studio 997 for some further analysis. My colleague Gifty Ando-Apia and Raymond Akwa are both standing by. What we await now is the president's formal acceptance speech from his residents. When that is ready, we'll bring that to you live. Elton Brobe is there for us. Winston, stand by. Gifty and Raymond will chipping out with what is unfolding across the country on the back of that declaration. Hello, Gifty. Okay, we'll bring in Gifty and Raymond shortly on this. As we observe what the pictures coming in from across the country, this has been a closely fought race, Winston. And in the end, it came down to 500,000 votes.
Exactly, and who would have imagined that after a loss of almost 1 million votes, the NDC could repackage, bring the same candidate, and make the election this close.
Yeah.
500,000 votes is not the almost 1 million votes by which they lost. And the issue is now, if John Mahama lost by almost 1 million votes, and there's a new government, a government that campaigned on free SHS, campaigned on the economy, the government comes in, has delivered on some of these promises, and yet John Mahama is able to push it this far. Indeed, I think the NDC should pat themselves on the shoulder and say, we fought a great fight.
Even more so because of what you see happen, they may have done in Parliament. I want to bring in now, I see Samson Lada Yinini, who is standing by with the other colleagues, Gifty and Raymond.
So Samson was just giving us his thoughts on what has happened so far. It's been a long wait indeed. We haven't slept much here at the election headquarters, and Samson was just commenting on that. Samson.
Right. So good that it has come at this time, particularly as, tensions were beginning to rise higher. And like Elton said a while ago, people were sitting on tenterhooks. Now, there is one thing that I like to watch, and the thing that I watch that makes me very proud to be part of the election headquarters team here at Multimedia is that consistently, for the over a decade that we have been doing this, you cannot fault the precision. with which we do it. And so I like anybody to pick the projection we did or go to my Joy Online and look at the projection, how it was done, and compare the figures with what the Electoral Commission has done. It has been like this consistently. Either we were on an occasion where we were calling the elections for the NDC or we're calling the elections for the NPP. And at each time, the response that we get from where we sit, the template, once again, is the same. It doesn't change.
It's been pretty consistent, because if you call it for the NDC, the NPP will come at you. If you call it for the NPP, the NDC will come at you.
And if you're calling it for the NDC and you're having a discussion and you're smiling, some people will get angry. And then if you're doing it the same thing for the NPP and you are smiling and doing it as if you should be frowning while you do your job, then some people will get angry. But it's all part of it. It's good that this has been done, but there's one thing that I also note at this very time. The one thing I note, which is very central, is that the supporters of the NDC who massed up in such huge numbers this afternoon at the precincts of the Electoral Commission have, it does appear, on their own decided to leave. They went there, and initially you could see how the expressions from some of them, but what we have to thank God for is that they were very peaceful. We don't have any report yet that they misconducted themselves, and they have left.
Okay. Perhaps we can give the security agency some credit as well for the way they also managed it. So it looks like it was a two-way affair.
They were in their numbers.
Exactly. So the way the security agencies managed the crowd and the way that the crowd comported themselves. But we'll find out, because
the security officers actually engaging them, talking to them, instead of using brute force.
The usual, Right, Raymond, let me take your own preliminary thoughts. I mean, for Samson, it's about the precision with which election headquarters has done the job over the period, and about how the crowds that are massed at the EC headquarters comported themselves throughout. I want to find out what is it for you? What is standing out now that the die is cast?
That once again, we have gone through a process that cemented the fact that when it comes to elections, we can do it, we can conclude it, we can actually do it without having the difficulties that sometimes even developing countries would have. And we have done so with such strength and somewhat believe in our systems that now it's becoming obvious. And I'm taking it on two fronts, nationally, that Ghana can be trusted to manage these situations, regardless of the uncertainties that may surround it, and regardless of the fear that people may have and think that, well, we may degenerate along the line because of the stakes involved in this election. Let's not forget, this is one very tough election that we're supposed to go into. It's an election that the president, after contesting since 2008, got the opportunity for the first time to be president. There's no way he was hoping to be a one-term president. Indeed, in his tradition, if you take the Buzia period where basically the period was truncated, this is the second time they are having a president from that particular tradition going for a second term. And it was important to another Danko Akufo-Addo himself because of where he has come from. And the fact that his father was the ceremonial president of the period during Buzia's time. So having one term or being there for one term would have been very problematic to him as an individual. And it was important. On the other side, check former President John Dramani Mahama. He, and sometimes his kind of tenor is misconstrued to mean, for John Dramani Mahama, he only continued and finished an unexpired term of J.E.A. Mills. So he wasn't the president of the Republic of Ghana in the year preceding 2012. He became president and had his actual first term from 2012 to 2016. So he has also been there for a term, except that many thought that within that period, we could have him being judged by the period the NDC had been in power, which was from 2009 to 2012 and 2012 to 2016, an 8-year period. So he was not in any way willing and happy with having to be a one-term president. So beyond everything, these are issues that rarely played strongly, and the parties were very much interested in making sure they secure this victory. And if you spread it along, now we know that between 1992 and 96 was President Rawlings. Then Kufuor came in 2000 and also took the 8-year period. The next 8-year period was for the NDC. Was it going to be that the NPP is the first in this republic to have a 4-year term and a 1 term within that particular space? So if you're just looking at the on these alone, it was bound to be a very interesting election. When we started voting, frankly, I didn't get the impression that the stakes were that high when we started voting. When the results started trickling in, I got the impression that we were heading towards very interesting elections along the line. And the parliamentary picture made it even more interesting. Now, let me come to the and the other cementing point is that, one, we've proven here on the election headquarters that, indeed, once again, if you want a trusted source for information and also proper coverage of elections, the people who will not actually play games with and put their integrity on the line and do some other things with the election, this is the place to come to.
Right.
And
I just want us to take a look at what's happening right now. That's the president's residence.
Oh, I
at
see.
The moment. Yeah, right there is the president's residence. They mounted a podium. He's supposed to speak. I'm wondering what you expect to hear from the president on this particular stage at this point in time. Maybe I should come to something for that one. What are you expecting to come out from what we're watching on the screen right now, the president's residence?
I am thinking what he's thinking now is that the wish and desire that before he begins to speak, President Mahama would have called him. Okay. Because that is the most important. You have seen leaders of the smaller parties, some of the very insignificant guys already there. Some of them started yesterday indicating concession to him. But of course, he knows that they don't amount to anything because some of them haven't made even a 0.00, mark. So the most important, as we know, this is a duopoly, is either MPP or NDC. So what will be running through his mind this moment is hoping that he will receive that call.
From Mr. Mahama?
From President Mahama, saying, look, we may also have some issues with some of the results, but I concede, pending whatever. But it doesn't look like that is going to happen. And why is that so? As they signed the summary forms, results summary forms, we have just been informed that the NDC was not around to sign them. So once the presidential process is over, you have the Presidential Regional Results Coalition form, which will be signed by the regional coalition officer. Then you would require that one is known as the Form 11. Then there's a Form 12. It is the Form 12 that you require the party's representatives to also, or the representatives of the candidate to also endorse after the valid votes and everything has been duly done. Then when that is done, there is a Form 13, which is the Declaration of Presidential Results form, which is for Jean Mensah to sign to say that the results are sealed. They are done. This is what they are. Then after she has done so, then there's also the requirement for the representative of the counting agent of a candidate to also do what? Endorse them. If they do, if they are refusing, they are supposed to indicate why they are refusing. So I was hoping that if they were not doing it, in the event that they were not doing it, they would rather do and indicate why they are not doing so.
But do we know for sure that they haven't signed?
Because that's what the reporter who is right there was telling us. And we know ahead of, before now, that there are agents there, the President Mohammed's agents there, more particularly Dr. Michael White Pesa. He has told us that they have issues with certain places, including Ashanti region and I think one other place. In due course, we will discuss some of the problems they have with some other place about recounting that was going on at the collation, recounting that was going on at the collation center, which they thought was unlawful. I would invite all of us to look at the law and to examine whether or not it is wrong to have recounting and not recollation at a collation center. But you see, he spoke about votes of ballots of about 390,000 from the Ashanti region that they are seeking to impugn.
I see.
So that clearly will be the reason they will not want to be part of this process. But I am saying it may have been the best thing to do to rather, you see, you can do things on protest, which means you do not waive your right to take an action later on.
But you just sign up to
so we can look at all of that. But beyond that, I expect him to say, well, he's won and he's happy about it. Thank his party people and everybody else. Thank Ghanaians and make a promise that he intends to be president for all. Whether indeed they do that, in fact, he will use, those words and phrases and try to rally everybody, to come along for his second term in office.
Well, right now we'll see a lot of jubilation ongoing. You can see on your screen something is happening in Bantama. A lot of people happy. The president's residence as well is late. We're on standby waiting to hear what he says. Raymond, what will be your expectation of an acceptance, if you like, speech from President Akufo-Addo?
I'm just looking at my time, and it's actually 6:43.
Yes.
If that is right. Yeah. Now, the time that around the same time in 2016, it was 7:51 when the then president, John Dramani Mahama, called the then president-elect Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo to actually wish him well.
Okay.
7:51, exactly on the
dot. Same day? No, not the same day. In terms of the way that particular election went, the timing.
The timing
on the day of declaration.
Yes, when it was declared. Right. Now, substantively, I'm expecting the president. Of course, this time he's not going to rehash some of the things that, in 2016, he thanked a lot of people.
A lot of people.
From pastors, through to security officers, through to people who have been known to be operatives during the PNDC period and all of that. and some of the pastors were interesting names you have heard in the process. Yes, journalists and all of the other security institutions. I think that regardless of how the President of the Republic of Ghana and his team will look at these results, there is some need for reflection. There is some need to actually know that if things remain the same and our electoral trajectory is to be followed, the path they are taking now might not lead to victory in the next election. If they want victory in the next election, there's a lot of things that would have to change. So he should understand that there is a country that more than 6 million did not want him to be president, and that he should actually give the rallying call that this should be a united state where we cannot see NPP and NDC differently. This should be a state where people will not be treated merely based on their political party affiliation, and that division will not be the way forward.
How real? Presidents. How much of a reality is in that?
See, there are two things. We are looking at the speech.
Yeah.
that you have to deliver.
And I'm coming in at this point, Raymond,
matter because
hang on, I'm coming in there with this point because you see, like you said, if you're now coming to take over as president for the first time, your language is pretty different.
Yeah.
But when you have been there and people have experienced your governance, they've experienced the other governance. I mean, we already know what to expect.
Two things. You also have elections are moments of reflection. Okay. It's also virtually like a referendum on your governance. People have sent strong signals to you about the things they think you have not done well.
Right.
In your speech, going to your second term, and it was Lyndon B. Johnson who made the point that second terms are for legacies. And that you don't want your legacy to be the one that left a divided country. Or the things that people complain about, you continued in that particular path. So for the president, I'm expecting, he does wonderful speeches, that's regardless. I mean, he will deliver one of those wonderful speeches. I'm expecting him to be delivering one of those that's going to unify the state rather, identify that there has been problems that ought to be fixed across the board.
Okay.
And when he does so, even his opponents will not feel that they are living in a different state and that the next 4 years is going to be a period for vindictiveness and other things that are associated with negative politics. So that's the kind of assurance I'm expecting him to put out there. Secondly, he can, and I know that some presidents tend to be, of course, you can't remove me from presidency because as for the second round, I can do whatever I want.
Because that's my last term.
That's true.
I mean, if we have to go by the trend of voting,
yes.
by Ghanaians.
Yes. No, I'm saying that that's his last term. President Akufo-Addo cannot contest again.
Right. So, even for the party. Because if your party, as President Kufuor said, what was the expression again? That a messenger in a governing party is
far better than
exactly. So
the senior secretary of opposition
so even
party.
if it's not me as president in the seat, it is still my party.
Agree.
And we know that in Ghana, the way we voted, it's unlikely that a particular party will have more than 8 years.
So a brilliant unifying speech is what I expect from him.
Okay.
And I also expect that beyond the speech, he and his people will sit down. There are so many things that have gone wrong in his first term. We can pretend that, oh, well, I mean, he won, so it means that there's an overwhelming endorsement. Don't get it wrong. If he really means to actually correct and have a proper legacy, he knows the things that ought to be done properly. And see, the thing with elections, or you go around. Sometimes when you sit in the Flagstaff House, you don't get as much information as going around.
Jubilee
when
House.
You go, yes, the Jubilee House.
when you sit, when you govern.
Yes, when you're the president at the top, sometimes you don't get as much information from the grassroots. When you go around in the campaign period, there are things you can't change within that period. But you hear a lot of people speak to you. They speak to you the realities on the ground. So the difference between what you perceive to be the reality and the actual reality on the ground becomes very clear to you. It is my hope that when you go into a new term, you are minded by these things so that you cement your legacy in a proper way. So that it's not become of you that, oh, of course, this thing happened under you. This also happened under you. This and other things happened under you. I remember, and one of the things I want to stick out there is that I remember when I had to put together a report about media freedoms over the period from the governments on the I was shocked as to how some very elements had deteriorated under this government, regardless of how people see it differently and the plaudits they will give the government. You cannot continue in that path. So those are the things that I expect deeper reflection going beyond the speeches for that to happen. That's if we continue in this path.
Yeah. Well, we're still waiting. As you can see, if you are watching, of course, there is a gathering in the president's residence. You could see that the stage is being set, obviously, for him to address the people and, of course, the nation. Once he starts speaking, we'll bring you that. And there's jubilation going around. But we're talking about what to expect in this very first speech now that the president has been reaffirmed. And Raymond, you're talking about a moment of reflection, taking a step back and saying the things that we could have fixed that we didn't fix, this is the time to fix it. Samson, I want to come to you and ask you if there are any specifics, and if I may, bring in, for example, the fight against corruption and the Martin Amidu factor. I mean, it was really murky getting to the end as we came into this particular election. Now, Martin Amidu is no longer the special prosecutor. How do you reckon, going forward,